All right, so let's graph this function. Notice now this time this function is in general form, right? But our steps are going to be the same. The only thing that's different is your vertex, pretty much. All right, so step 1 was determine if it's going to open up or down. Down. Why? Because it's a negative a there at the beginning again. All right, then we're going to find our vertex. Well, to find our vertex is a little different on this one. How do we find the x value of our vertex?
X equals mx plus b.
No.
Yx plus a.
Negative b over 2a. So I need to go up here and identify my a, b, and c. What's a?
X squared.
It's a number in front of the x squared, which is?
1. Negative 1.
B.
4.
And c.
1.
All right, so let's plug that in. So we got negative, what was b? 4. Over 2 times, what's a? So what do we have on top? Over, what's on bottom? Which is?
2.
Good, positive 2. So my vertex is going to be 2 comma some number. How do we find that y value of it? Plug that 2 back into the equation. So I'm going to do a skeleton. So it's negative x squared plus 4x plus 1. And what are we going to plug in?
2.
So remember, this is a negative 1 times the 2 squared there, right? So we're going to have negative 1 times what's 2 squared?
4.
Plus what's 4 times 2? And then bring down your plus 1. What's negative 1 times 4? And then bring down your plus 8 plus 1. Combine them all together, add them all, and we get. So I know my vertex is going to be 2 comma 5. Now, step 3 is your x-intercepts. How do we find that? We set our function equal to 0. So we got negative x squared plus 4x plus 1 equals 0.
No.
So, what can we do here? And you can't move the 1 over. We have options for the x-intercept. We can factor, or we can do quadratic formula.
Factor.
All right, so he says factor. There's only one problem. This one's not factorable. But I agree. Personally, I like to factor a lot more than I do quadratic formula. So it's going to be the one I go to as well.
Can we just divide it by an x and then make
No.
x plus 4 plus 1 and then do like a minus 1 and like...
No, we cannot. All right, so we already identified our A, B, and C at the top, didn't we?
Can't factor, we just skip it.
So what's our quadratic formula? Do you remember?
Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Sing it, Cody.
X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Very good.
So we get extra credit for that, right?
Maybe. All right, so we got x equals negative b. I'm just going to do my skeleton here first. Plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Oh, yeah. Always over 2a.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Always. All right, so let's plug in then. What's b? B, A, C, and then A again. I know, we're short on room here. You got the margins and you got down below there if you need on yours.
That's tight.
It's all right. You can do it. I have complete faith in you. All right, so we have -4 plus or minus
Square root.
the square root. What is 4 squared?
8.
No, 16.
That was just text.
Now, what's -4 times -1 times 1? So a +4? All over, I'm sorry, I know this is the very bottom here. It's hard for some of y'all to see. You can move around if you need to. What's 2 times -1? All right. I'm just going to kind of work going across here. So we have, what, -4 plus or minus the square root of all over -2.
Can we factor all this?
Now,
Yeah, we should be able to divide it by.
listen, not yet. No, you can't divide it all by 2. But we're going to graph, right?
C.
So if I told you that the answer is -2 plus or minus 2 square root of 10, or I'm sorry, no, 2 square root of 5, are you going to know where to plot that?
No, put it in the calculator.
So we need a decimal, don't we? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and split it. So I'm going to come up here to the top. So I'm still on the x-intercept, okay? It's up here. Continued. All right, so when I split it, I get x equals -4 plus the square root of 20 all over 2. And I get x equals -4 minus the square root of 20 all over 2.
What does that say next to x-intercept?
Say it again.
What does it say next to x-intercept?
Continued, C-O-N-T. Sorry, kind of ran together there. Just abbreviating that we're continuing it.
Shouldn't that 2 be negative?
Yes, it should be. Thank you. The 2 on bottom is negative. All right, so can we just type this in our calculators?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be quite so easy on our the ones I've got here, but we can do it. All right, so let's do that.
Easy on a graphic.
Okay, so if we put them in our calculators correctly, we find one of our x-intercepts is at -0.24, and the other one is at 4.24.
The negative will be 4.24.
Yes, the one that had the minus is at 4.24.
Who did that flow over or no?
Nope, you leave it there. All right, so then my y-intercept. This is where there were 2 ways. We could let x equal 0, or when we're in general form like this, it's our c value. What was our c value here?
1.
So it's just y equals 1.
What?
All right, so let's plot our points.
So y equals c.
So the y-intercept is the c value when you're in general form. When you're in ax squared plus bx plus c, your y-intercept is the c value. All right, so when I go through here, let's plot our vertex. So 2, 5, so go to the right 2, up 5.
What? Right 2.
Plot your x-intercepts.
Where'd you get 2 from?
It's right there on step 2. It says the vertex is 2, 5.
Oh, yeah.
More than
Okay, then the x-intercepts we said are at -0.24. That's just somewhere between 0 and -1, right? And a positive 4.24. So it's a little bit past 4, it's between 4 and 5. Check it. Is my vertex like halfway in between them?
Yeah.
Yes. So we're probably good. And my y-intercept is up at 1. And we set it open down, which is what it's showing. And we can draw in our graph.